Jake, congrats on another UFC win. Just keep adding them up. Just how'd this one feel? How'd it unfold relative to the game plan and the expectations?
Yeah, it was good to get back in the win column. You know, fighting on a big card again. I always seek out these big cards. It felt a lot like fighting in Utah on that BMF card. Big card, huge crowd, massive. Fighting under a massive main card. So it was good. Obviously, needed to adapt a little bit from the first round, which we did. Corner got into my ear, we adapted, come away with a win. And I think the main thing I showed is that no matter if it's the tallest guy in the division like Phil or the shortest guy like Darius Flowers, after the first round, I'll adapt and I'll win.
I know you're pretty hard on yourself when the losses comes and everything, and you hold yourself to a really high standard. So a performance like this, can you enjoy it more? Are you still seeing flaws that you made? How do you kind of digest it?
Not at all. I hate winning by decision. It's good, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you got a family, you got to put food on the table, and it's still a win on the board. But to me, this is war. I've completely changed my mindset to this being a sport. We're martial artists. Martial art is a religion. What we do is war. It's battle. You're winning by points. It means nothing to me. I should, realistically, if we're out in the real world, if I put a choke on, I'm not letting go until there's no life left in you. If I knock you out, same deal. So, winning by decision, it's not the best, but again, we adapted, we pushed through, we come over the win.
And what's the plan from here? Are we making a quick turnaround for Perth?
Yeah, look, I wasn't planning on it, but with JDM out of the picture for the time being, hopefully he heals up quickly and gets back in there. But there might be a need for a decent welterweight bout on that card now, so would absolutely consider it.
Any names that come to mind?
Not in particular. I know Phil just fought Neil Magny, I think in his last fight. I think I put on just as good a performance as Neil did. It was a more of an exciting fight. I think I hurt Phil more than Neil did. I know he's paired up with Morales, but depending on how that fight goes, we'll see. That could be a good fight, or somewhere around that kind of ranking.
And just my last thing, tonight was the debut of the new UFC gloves. You've obviously fought many times in the old ones. What were your thoughts after actually competing in them? Yeah, look, they're fine.
You could wrap my hands in tea towels and I'll fight the same. If anyone comes up here and complains about the gloves, it shouldn't make a difference whether you win or lose. They felt perfectly fine in there. They still did damage. I was still able to rock him, still able to grapple, so they felt good.
Right here. Looking at your record, you've traded wins and losses over your last 7 or 8 fights. So I guess what's the emotional roller coaster of that? Because you win, you came back, you win, and then you kind of drop one. So I guess what is that? What is going through your mind in that stretch?
Yeah, to me, it's generally I'll win until it's that teetering fight where it's the next fight will be top 15. You know what I mean? Going back from me and James Vick, me and Tony, Anthony Rocco Martin, Kevin Lee, the last one against Michael Morales. They were all fights that the winner is going to get a top 15 bout. We saw Morales is going on to fight Neil Magny. So I just put it down to, look, I got into the UFC when I was 19, for those who didn't know. So I've been in the UFC for 10 years. I had to grow up. I was a teenager. I had to grow up and mature and learn on the job while fighting the best fighters in the world. So for me to still be here after 10 years, again, if you didn't know, the average fight career of a UFC fighter is 3 or 4 fights and 2 years. So I've had 20 fights, I've been here for 10 years. So I think I'm doing something right. It's just that missing piece at the end, which I think is the maturity that's going to come in my early 30s.
Kind of going off of that, you mentioned earlier, it's martial arts is the religion now. You kind of view this as war. Is that a relatively new mindset, and what kind of switched with you?
It's something, if you watch my old fights when I was 19, 20, 21, you can see I was just a savage kid who did not care. There was no rounds, there was no win the first round, win the second round. It was just going to battle. Every punch had 100%, every round you clear the gas tank 100%. And try and get the win each round. So trying to go back to that now, still in saying that, with a little bit of, methodical thinking, a bit of that maturity. But at the end of the day, if we're in the real world, if someone gets me in a choke and I go to sleep, there's no referee there to stop me. So that's the mindset, to stop them. So that's the mindset I have now.
And last one for me. I know you in Salt Lake, you said you didn't necessarily look to fight in Australia because you did that and you kind of like fighting around the U.S. But also looking at your record in the UFC, you've only ever lost in Australia and Las Vegas. So yeah. I don't know if you're aware of that, and is that something you try to avoid, or do you want to fight in those places to kind of snap that skid?
No, so Adelaide, I'll never fight in Adelaide again. I hate Adelaide, don't like Adelaide. Not saying it's a curse, I have no superstitions. And most of my losses with the Apex. Again, I don't consciously think there's a crowd, there's no crowd, but maybe it does have some sort of effect. So, I'll fight anywhere as long as it's a good card, a big card, everyone asks me, they go, oh, why don't you fight in Australia? You know, this is a huge card, fighting under Islam and Dustin. We get cool bomber jackets, fight week, you know what I mean? That's what I'm here for. I've done my time in it. Not saying I won't fight in Australia again, but I had a lot of fights in Australia when I was younger. 7 or 8 fights, my first 7 or 8 fights. It's time to seek those big fights, those big names, and you have to go out to them, go overseas, and get that kind of that notoriety out there. Thank you. All good? Thank you, everybody.